Hey there. Welcome to episode 42 of Toy Talk with Mike and Chad. I'm Chad.
I'm Mike.
And we have a guest, Casey.
This is Casey. Don't lick me. So yeah, Casey hasn't made an appearance on the show in a while.
Yeah.
And this is why, because she's not a great guest. Just
licking you all the time.
Makes a lot of noise. And alright, stop it. Stop. So yeah, on this episode, which will be our third episode tonight, now she's licking Chad. Yeah. Alright, stop being a slut.
My dog is not a slut.
So we did an episode tonight where we talked about the new G.I. Joes that we both got.
Yep.
Then we did an episode on all your new toys.
Yep.
And now we're going to do an episode on some of my miscellaneous toys. I'm still pretty far behind because I've got Marvel Legends, Action Force, Transformers, Masters of the Universe. I've got a lot of stuff to cover.
That's fair though, but you're also trying to redo the room, so...
Yeah. If you guys are noticing that this room is very blank, especially if you've watched prior episodes when normally it's very busy, it's because I'm in the process of, I'm going to repaint this room and reorganize it, get some new shelving and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I've been taking everything down and hopefully a couple episodes from now you will see the new man cave.
Which is super exciting. Yeah. Mike told me. Excuse me. Mike told me tonight what he's planning to do, and
yeah, I'll say it. I might not end up doing it. Everything needs my wife's approval. But actually, Chad, if you move your head a little bit, I'm thinking for the colors for this room is kind of Devastator-esque. So Devastator, also Green Goblin, the Hulk, whatever. Green, purple. You can bring your head back in. But just those are the kind of colors I'm thinking, like kind of a bright green with purple. So I might do like a purple accent wall. This wall behind us will probably be like the limeish green. I was thinking of even maybe doing limeish green for the first half of the wall and then dark purple on the first half. I don't know how that'll look. But also Snake Mountain here, which is always our backdrop. It's purple and green too. I think it might look really nice. So yeah, we'll see if I can pull this off. If I can even find the right color paints and all this stuff. But that's kind of what I'd like to do. Plus, right now we're sitting on mismatched chairs. You're in a computer chair. I'm in like a dining room kitchen chair that belongs upstairs. I'm hoping when I redo this room to get us like a matching set of chairs.
Cup holders?
Yeah, maybe some cup holders.
Snack tray?
Well, plus we're always on the bare floor here. Yeah. It'd be nice to get like an area rug. I want this room to be a little more welcoming. So that's the long-term goal. It's not all going to happen at once because all that shit gets expensive. Yeah, but that's the end goal. And then Casey might want to hang around here more often, right? When it's cozy. Anyway, so let's get into my new figures. So I think we talked about these a little bit at the end of an episode we filmed a couple of weeks ago. I was almost going to lump them into a miscellaneous episode we had done, but I thought, no, these toys are too good to just lump in at the end of a miscellaneous episode. I kind of wanted to give them their own video.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
But time has passed. If I don't do them now, I'm never going to get around to doing it. So they end up in a miscellaneous video anyway. So first up is this Red Sonja figure. So if you're familiar with Red Sonja, she is like a spin-off of Conan the Barbarian. She is, a ginger chick. She wears a chainmail bikini. She was... they actually made a live-action movie of her in the 80s with Bridget Nielsen that played her. Not something you need to seek out and watch. I haven't seen it in a long time, but if memory serves, it wasn't great, and I don't think it's probably got like a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes or something if I had to guess. But she's a cool character, like a warrior woman.
Yeah.
Now this toy, I've got the box here, was made, I think it's like a joint production by a company called Executive Replicas and Loose Collector. So I don't know if that's one company or those are two companies that work together on this. But you can see it's got some really nice artwork on the box by different artists. There's like painted artwork on the back, some nice drawn artwork on either side. So all four sides of the box have got some nice artwork. Based on the comic book that Dynamite Comic publishes. Have you ever read any Red Sonja comics?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I would like to read more. And if you were thinking of getting on board, now is a good time because they just started a brand new book. There's a new #1, just came out like a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it's one of those books where like I'm interested in reading it, but it's Dynamite, and I don't have a lot of faith in Dynamite comic books. They put out a lot of like TNA books, essentially. And I know there's an element of that to Red Sonja. I don't want to sound like I'm, above it or whatever. Like, yeah, she's a half-naked woman with a sword. But almost every comic that Dynamite publishes is about a half-naked girl. Like, I read their Sheena, the Jungle Warrior comics, but they also do Vampirella and like Lady Death and I don't know how many others. The one from John Carter, what's her name, Delijah Thoris or something, Anyway, they're all like naked women, and every comic they put out has like 100 covers, and they're all really cheesecakey covers that I'm almost too embarrassed to buy their comic books. Even if the stories are good, I feel like my wife would see me reading it in bed. She's like, what is this like porno you're reading? I'm like, so yeah, I wish they weren't so sexualized, actually, but I like Red Sonja as a concept and what I know of the character. I haven't read a ton of her stuff, but I am a big Conan fan. Yeah. And I've read quite a bit of Conan. I love the Conan movies. So it's really just the fact that she's kind of part of Conan's world that I wanted to get this figure. She's like kind of sliding off of me here. So yeah, this figure, when I saw it was advertised by whatever, Loose Collector, whoever makes it, they've made a bunch of female figures, all like some of Dynamite's characters, and again, they're all naked women characters. You've seen them like Purgatories, like she's like a red girl with devil horns, and again, she's basically naked. Some of the figures they even make are bare-chested. Like there's a variant you can like take off the chest plate and then put on one with like nipples and stuff. Again, it creeps me out a little bit. I'm like, that's great for somebody that's maybe a bachelor and doesn't have a girlfriend, but like, I'm a married guy. I'm not going to have naked girl action figures.
Well, as a bachelor and someone that doesn't have a girlfriend, I probably wouldn't buy that one. I don't know.
Because it would definitely hurt your chances of getting a girlfriend in the future. So, yeah, anyway, I'm glad she's dressed, even if it's not a lot.
Scant, but there.
Scantily, but yes. But despite that, it's a really nice figure. It's not perfect. I think one of the problems with them being so naked is that the joints look a little wonky, especially around their legs.
And the butt.
She's got a bubble butt, that's for
sure.
Butt
looks weird.
The butt is kind of weird, and I think in the front too, like where you see that seam.
Yeah.
Like you could hide that in pants, but I think where most of their women are basically naked, it just looks, it's kind of off-putting, those joints that they have on their legs. So, but anyway, my rationale for buying this figure, because it was kind of expensive. Oops.
Sorry, Case.
Kind of expensive as far as 6-inch figures go. This got, I think she was like $79
American?
US.
Yeah.
Which in Canada, that's almost like $100. So that's a lot. And she comes with some accessories, but not a ton. Like I've got them here. So she's got her sword that you can see. I'm going to do a close up here so you can see stuff. She also has like an axe and a couple of daggers. So yeah, she's got a couple of little things here, but not $100 worth of stuff. No. But my rationale was thinking like, I can't think of the last time, if ever, they've made a Red Sonja action figure. And I don't know if they're going to make one anytime soon. Because even though Conan's license went to Marvel recently, and it seemed a lot more likely that a mainstream company might get his license, Red Sonja, there hasn't been, she's still with Dynamite after all these years. Anyway, so I thought this was my only chance of getting a Red Sonja. So I pulled the trigger, and I am pleased with it. Like, it's a nice figure for a company that's obviously kind of a small company. They don't have a huge track record. It was a bit of a gamble for me, but I think she turned out really well. Like, her face sculpt is nice. She holds her weapons well. Like, everything's nicely painted. So, good figure.
I like the eyes.
Yeah, she's got nice The paint job is nice on the face. Now, when I was deciding if I was going to buy this, I watched a few other YouTube reviewers. One of the things that some people criticized was the face, but that's because so many companies now on their 6-inch figures, they use digital printing, and this is more of a traditional paint, but I kind of prefer that. Yeah. If this was supposed to be a real actress, like if this was based on a movie, then maybe I would want the digital, because I'd look at it and be like, this doesn't look like the actress. The digital printing helps it look like to capture a likeness. But because this is just kind of a generic comic book Red Sonja, I don't think they needed to use digital printing. So I like the face. So it's arguably a little cartoonier, but...
That's cool, though.
It's cool. I like it. Now, not to diminish this figure in any way, but I was a little disappointed. Like, I had to rationalize. I hummed and hawed about getting this figure. And probably the thing that finally made me pull the trigger was that I canceled another thing I had ordered from Big Bad Toy Store, and they gave me store credit. So then I had that store credit, and I was like, well, now if I buy Red Sonja, it's already half paid for with my credit. So it felt like I was getting her for cheaper, although obviously I wasn't. But so that's what made me pull the trigger. You coached me to do it. You were,
it's free.
You were a bad influence.
Yeah, sorry.
But I got that figure maybe 2 weeks before San Diego Comic-Con happened. And at San Diego Comic-Con, Boss Fight Studios announced that they've got the license to do Red Sonja action figures. And Boss Fight makes excellent action figures. And they've said that they are going to be doing 6-inch. I was speculating when they first announced that they might do 4-inch because they have a really expansive 4-inch line. But they've said it's going to be 6 inches, so it's probably going to be pretty similar to the one I have, and it's probably going to be better. And it's probably going to be cheaper. So it kind of makes that, it kind of makes me a little bit like, oh, why didn't I wait? 2 weeks later, I would have not probably bought that. But anyway, it's a nice figure. I don't mean to diminish Loose Collector or whatever. They did a good job on this. So if you're a Red Sonja fan, I still think it's worth picking up. But you might want to wait and see what Boss Fight Studios version looks like. Yep. And it scales well with my Conan figures from like Super 7 and stuff. I'll do an insert here and I'll put her with Conan. Yeah, she looks good. So it's a few days later since Chad was here and we talked about this figure. But now I want to give you guys a bit of a closer look at her. So here you go. Here is Red Sonja. And so there is the face sculpt and the face painting that we were talking about earlier. So yeah, I think that is on par with most like Marvel Legends and things like that. Like I think it's a good paint job on the face. The sculpt is definitely nice. And like the paint job around the eyes is nice and crisp. So yeah, I don't know. I have no problem with the face sculpt. One thing I kind of like about it is Red Sonja. I don't know how old she is supposed to be, like in continuity. But she has been around a long time. Sometimes she's drawn like a little too young, I feel. Like she looks like she's in her early 20s or something. This here, I will say, looks like a little bit of an older Red Sonja. So, I don't know whether it's the paint or the sculpt that brings that out. But she doesn't look like a 20-year-old here. And, I think that works. I think that makes sense. Although if... when Boss Fight Studios does give us a version, I kind of hope that it's not this exact version. Maybe they do give us a younger version of Sonja. Maybe they give us the version of Sonja that has like chainmail sleeves. Maybe they give us one that doesn't have this kind of elaborate neck piece. I don't know. I just hope it's not the exact same so that I can justify buying another one and having them both in my collection. But yeah, so she does have this kind of elaborate neck piece. She doesn't always have that. I think she had that in her early Marvel comic book appearances. I don't know if she has that in her current like Dynamite appearances. It might depend on who's drawing her. The comic book has been rebooted several times since it's been at Dynamite. But as I just mentioned a second ago, she actually originated over in Marvel comic books. So yeah, she had a couple series over there in the 70s and I think into the 80s maybe. But so here's some of the weird joints that I was talking about. Like, it just looks a little unnatural, the way her skin connects. Now, you get that on a lot of action figures, but especially when it's somebody that's not wearing any clothes, and it's supposed to be skin on skin. It's like less forgivable. So yeah, it just looks a little odd having that seam there. I kind of wish they had buried the seam maybe into like her bikini or something like that, so the seam came right across there. But anyway, it is what it is. Now her boots are nice. Like she's got this this design here in her boots that I don't know what you call that style, where it's kind of open in the front and it's tied together on the strap around her lower leg. Yeah, there is the kind of weird looking booty that Chad was talking about. So it is, it's kind of Kardashian-like in that it doesn't really look particularly natural, the way it kind of protrudes like that. I don't necessarily think it looks bad, and you're probably not going to display this figure on your shelf backwards. But yeah, I think it looks okay. Just, a little odd, I suppose. And I kind of feel that was maybe intentional. I would say clearly that Loose Collector was trying to make these figures a little sexy, because they did choose to chase down the Dynamite license, and they've been producing, lots of scantily clad lady figures. So I think, they're definitely, conscious of the characters that they're making, and I think they're trying to go with sexy figures. So I think, large breasts and a big booty is kind of part of their whole deal here. But anyway, you can probably see her articulation. So she's got single jointed elbows. She's got double jointed knees, so good range of motion there. I'm not going to go through all the articulation because I think people get kind of bored by that. There's plenty of other reviews of these figures online if you really want to see. Now, you might notice I've got her on some display bases here. These did not come with her, unfortunately. She does have a little trouble standing because she's got these high heels. And fortunately, she does have holes in her boots so that I was able to get some generic stands. And she stands up pretty good with them. But she doesn't stand up so good without them. But yeah, she looks good. For accessories, so she's got that big sword there. You can see there's a couple different paint apps. It's kind of like a gold hilt, or I don't know all the different parts. Black handle, gold hilt on the top, silver blade. Then she's got this axe as well, so it's a couple of different tones of paint. It's actually got it looks like it's got brown wrappings over a black handle with a silver axe and a silver end. Then she's got these two little daggers here, both of which seem to have some weathering on the blade. There's a bit of a black wash over them, so that looks good. I kind of wish she had somewhere to tuck these, though, because I think I'm going to display her with just the sword on my shelf. She does have extra hands, which I was going to show you as well. So she's got some kind of open hands here. And then she's got the closed fists. I currently have her with one closed fist. Here's her other one. And then she has gripping hands. So I have her with one gripping hand, and here is the other one. So I could have her with a sword and an axe, but that feels a little busy. So the axe, as cool as it is, it will probably get tucked away in my spare parts bin. But yeah, the daggers, they're nice little daggers, so it would have been kind of nice if maybe she had a sheath on her boot or on the back of her belt or something like that. It's kind of a shame to just toss those into the spare parts bin as well. But yeah, quite nice. Now, I said I would do some side-by-side comparisons, so makes the most sense to put her with Conan. Now, I do have a couple of the movie Conans that look like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Super 7, but this is their comic book Conan based on the Marvel comic book, so that probably makes the most sense. And I think you can probably see these guys scale pretty well together. She's obviously not as bulky as him, but Conan is supposed to be, a really big, muscular beefcake type of guy. I think, for a barbarian man and woman, these guys look pretty good to scale with one another, and my plan is to display her in my shelf next to these guys. Now, another warrior that you might pair her with is, this here is, I think, Vicron from the Masters of the Universe Classics collection. He very much looks like a Conan. I think the intent was to kind of make a Conan-inspired figure here. And again, he's the same scale as the Conan figure, so these guys look really good together. Now, I've also got, I'm going to be talking about this guy a little bit later in the video. This is Fisto from the Masterverse line. So this is the current line of 6 to 7 inch Masters of the Universe characters. So I think she fits in pretty well with them. And lastly, because she was in the Marvel Universe for a time and she has had a couple of crossovers with Spider-Man, I thought I would bring in a Marvel Legends Spider-Man. Now they look pretty good. She might look ever so slightly taller, but keep in mind she's on a bit of a display base there, so that bumps her up a couple of millimeters. And yeah, I actually think this scale works pretty well too. So yeah, if you've got any kind of 6-inch scale figures, Red Sonja looks really good with all of them. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing. So the other oddity I have here, I've had for a few weeks as well. So I collect Spawn figures, but he doesn't put out very many Spawn figures, McFarlane Toys. So it's not like we're G.I. Joes or Marvel Legends. He puts out, there's a wave of figures and I have a whole wave to talk to you about. McFarlane kind of tends to let figures trickle out 1 or 2 at a time. So I recently got this medieval Spawn figure. And I think there was 3 figures in this wave. Sin, which I did not buy, was one of them. And I forget what the other one is now. I think I bought it, but I think I reviewed it separately in another video. But anyway, Medieval Spawn is a cool character that he goes back to like the earliest days of Spawn. I think he first appeared in like Spawn issue 7 or 8 or something. And Spawn is now in issue like 340 or 3. So yeah, we're talking 30 years ago or something. And yeah, have been figures of this guy in the past. But this is definitely the best one we've gotten so far. He's a little bigger and bulkier. The armor looks really cool.
Yeah, he's badass.
Yeah, what do you think?
I love him.
Like when McFarlane started putting out new Spawn figures, just in the last probably 3 years now, because he hadn't put out Spawn toys for, I don't know, 6-7 years before that, maybe even longer. When he started remaking the toys that he made back in the early 90s, this was the character I was probably most looking forward to seeing redone. And it took them a little while to get to him, but I think they really nailed it. I think he's solid. Soft weapons, you might be noticing. The weapons are really gummy, so like Chad was just bending it. Yeah, the sword just bends very easily. The hammer too, they look like big solid weapons, but yeah, they're soft plastic.
Does the hammer stay in well?
Does it what?
Does the hammer stay in his hand well? I find often with soft.
You can see his grip is a little loose on both of his weapons. So he'll hold them. They're not going to fall out of his hands. But his fingers are really rubbery too. Which in some ways is good. That way you don't have to worry about breaking them off when you're putting a sword in his hand. But yeah. Probably my biggest gripe about this guy is that he's got so much nice detail. But not a lot of paint detail. Like I think like that skull on his belt buckle and all the detail on his shoulder pad there, if it had like a wash over it to kind of bring out that detail. So
even on the legs, like
all over really, like a black wash would have looked really nice on that guy.
That aside, it's a fantastic figure.
But almost similar to Red Sonja. Yeah. So San Diego, they announced a better Red Sonja's coming out. I just got this figure. I was totally pleased with it. I actually, both him and Sonja were included in my last Best of the Year video. If you guys haven't been watching those, basically what I do is every quarter of the year I do a video where I gather up all the toys that I got that quarter and I eliminate ones and I end up with like a final 10 or 15 that are going to go on to be contenders for my Best of the Year. So both Medieval Spawn and Red Sonja made it through the last round. So these guys are going to be contenders for my Toy of the Year. So I was really pleased with this guy. And I got him at the same time I got Red Sonja about 2 weeks before San Diego. San Diego happened. And Todd McFarlane announced that he's going to do a Kickstarter action figure of Medieval Spawn. And
Jinx.
Yeah. And I even watched a YouTube video where somebody said like, wait, you're doing a Kickstarter? Because that was his first time he announced it. Yeah. They're like, you're doing Medieval Spawn. And he said, yeah. And they're like, didn't you literally just put out a Medieval Spawn? And he's like, yeah, but that was kind of meant for mass retail, that he could sell for like whatever, $30, $40, whatever this guy was. He's like, but now I want to do a really high-end collectible. And when you see the difference, you'll see where the money is. And he showed pictures of it, and it looks amazing. Have you seen it?
I did see images, yeah.
Yeah, like all of his chainmail, he has that wash that I'm talking about.
Yep.
So all the detail is brought out. I'm probably going to buy that one too.
I was about to ask you that.
And so knowing that I'm probably going to buy that Kickstarter Spawn, and he's probably going to be more in like the $80 range, I might have been able to pass on this $40 one. As good as it is, but I think the other one's going to be better. Although, to be fair, like one thing I like about this guy is that he's bulky. Like he looks like he's a buffer dude.
Yeah, he's got weight to him.
The Kickstarter one, he looks leaner. Like he looks more like an Al Simmons Spawn as opposed to this big hulking guy. So even when you display them next together, they might actually look like different characters, like two different medieval spawns. So might still be worth my while. But anyway, this guy is cool. So here is a closer look at the medieval Spawn. And yeah, this guy is pretty awesome. So do a little bit of a turnaround here. He's got his cape on him. Very cool. And the weapons, maybe we'll start with them for a change. So a really nice sculpt on the sword. And then the hammer, again, it's got like lots of sculpted detail. There's like the Spawn logo on the end of the hammer there. You know, every section of this has some sort of texture to it. It's just a real shame that it doesn't have a black wash over it like Red Sonja's blades, because that would really bring out the detail there. But yeah, the sculpt of the figure itself, yeah, he's awesome. Like the helmet looks really good. You know, it's very true to his, first appearances. Like I said, I think this guy's a little bulkier. In the present day comic books, he's drawn as kind of the big strong guy on the team. When he first appeared in those early comic books, I don't think he was really supposed to be particularly big and buff. So this is kind of more of a contemporary take on medieval Spawn. But yeah, great helmet design. Now he's got skulls all over him. He's got a big old skull on his shoulder. I like the asymmetrical look. That's kind of always been part of Spawn. He always has one big glove and one big boot. So he's got another shoulder pad over here, or a pauldron, I guess. But it's all spiky. There's no skull. Now he's got another kind of really cool skull on his belt buckle there. Now he's got these chains with spikes hanging off of it. Now these are really soft, gummy rubber, which is kind of a bummer. Because I think if he'd gone with metal chains there, that would look really awesome. And even throughout this, skirt piece, there's tons of detail all over it. It's just a shame that it's all one color. You don't really see all the details. Then he's got another giant skull on his knee pad, on both of them. But he does have asymmetrical boots. So this one here is kind of more of a standard. He's just got shin armor on the front of the leg. But here he's got the big round Spawn boot, which I always think looks really cool. And then he's got the same spike gauntlets kind of on each hand. His cape, he's got a couple more little skulls holding his cape in place. And again, you see all that texture, all that detail in there. And up on his neck, he's got a textured piece there. Like, this is a really high quality figure. And he's a really good price. Like, I can't remember exactly what I paid for him, but I think it was like $40 or something. And there's just a lot of sculpting that went into this. There's another skull. You can see his skirt piece has got a slit in it there, which is good because it doesn't hinder his movement. He can still do the splits and everything. He's got pretty good articulation. You can kind of see there. He's got double jointed knees, so he can kick his legs all the way back like that. He's got the double jointed elbows, so he can get his arm fully folded like that. Yeah, he moves well. He spins at the waist. He spins at the mid-torso. So yeah, good articulation all around. He's got not a ton of accessories, but he's got the appropriate accessories that look pretty cool. He's well armed. He moves well. He's also got a little toe articulation, so that helps you give him some more action poses. And I like that it's a pretty firm joint too. I used to really dislike toe joints on the old Marvel Legends because I found they just made them look gangly and topple over. But it works well for this guy. And yeah, overall, I just think he's pretty awesome. All right, say goodbye, Casey. Bye. Say goodbye. Okay, so the last three toys I think we're going to talk about Who knows? Maybe I'll even throw the Transformers in here if we have time, because
it's at 18 minutes.
We're at 18 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to take me to talk about these He-Man figures. But if you guys watch my channel regularly, I collect the Masters of the Universe Origins line, which is the 5-inch retro-style squatty He-Man figures. I'm pretty much a completist with that line. Now, concurrently, Mattel is releasing another line of Masters of the Universe called Masterverse or Revelation, and they are 7-inch figures, more articulated, more modern sculpting and all that sort of stuff, a little more contemporary. And I like those figures. But since I'm already collecting Origins, and I already have a pretty extensive collection of Classics figures, which are these figures behind me here. So you see Snake Mountain and Mantenna up top here. So these are like 7-inch figures that came out from Mattel a few years back. And so because I already have that line, I have like over 100 of these figures, I don't really feel like buying them again from Masterverse. So with the Masterverse toys, I've only been buying my absolute favorite characters like Merman and Stinkor. But I did buy 3 new Masterverse figures, so I'm going to lump those guys in here too. But my patience paid off. I got all these guys on sale. So we were out the other day. What were we doing?
Last week we were going to see the Turtles movie.
Right. So we went and saw the Ninja Turtles movie. We went to Walmart, and they had Too Bad. So this is the 2-headed evil He-Man character. And this guy retails at Walmart for $50. I think he's $49, maybe $44. And even though this is a nice figure, maybe the best Too Bad figure they've ever released, I have the original vintage Too Bad. I have the classics Too Bad. I have the 2002 Too Bad. I just didn't really... I couldn't justify spending $50 on another version of the same character. He's not different enough. But anyway, he was on sale for $19. So more than 50% off. And I couldn't really pass him up for that much.
Too bad.
Too bad. So the figure is cool. It like where these guys have a leg up over the Classics figures, because I prefer the Classic figures aesthetic. So if I had this guy next side by side with my Classics version, I would probably still say I like the way the Classic one looks better. But they're kind of dated in that they have single jointed elbows and knees, so they can only kind of do this with their arm. Where this guy's got double jointed, so he can like reach right back and touch his shoulder, and his feet can kick right back, and he can kick himself in his own ass type of thing because his leg goes all the way back like that. So that seems to be kind of the standard with action figures these days, is the double joints. And so these guys are much more articulated than the Classics figures were. And so for that reason, this is the most posable Too Bad we've ever gotten.
Does he have 2 dicks? I don't know why I thought of it.
I've never lifted his loincloth, but
like
unclear.
Okay.
But I would guess no. He only has 2 arms, and he has 2 legs. One is blue and one is purple.
So would that be the same for his dick?
I wouldn't be surprised if he has a blue testicle and a purple testicle. I don't know what his dick would look like.
Half blue, half purple.
I don't know. We're not that type of channel here, Chad.
No, I know. I'm just tired, and
yeah.
I got a lot of sun today.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that it's best not to think about.
Yeah, I can't say that I would think about that. Again, that was awkward.
Yeah, like it makes me think of like Mallrats.
Yeah.
And like the characters in Mallrats, they run into Stan Lee at the mall, and they're asking him like, "Is the thing's dick made of rock?" and all that, like those kind of questions. It's best just not to think about.
Yeah.
And yeah, with Too Bad, the gimmick on the original toy from the 80s is that his arms, and I have him, I'll do a cut in because I have the original toy. Oh, he's right here. So the original toy, his arms are up on his shoulders. I don't know if you can really see that.
Yeah.
And so the gimmick was he pulls the arms back and he punches himself in the own head. And that's because the gimmick was that the 2 halves didn't get along and they were always bickering and arguing with one another. So if that's the case, so one guy clearly controls one arm, the other guy controls the other arm. And the lore is these guys were two individual people that got merged together through magic. So he wasn't born this way. So yeah, it does make you wonder, like, who controls the dick? Like, if this guy's asleep, can this guy still get a boner?
That's not to think of that.
But yeah, that's the stuff we don't think about on this channel. We don't advertise ourselves as a kid-friendly channel, but we're also not a fucked up, perverted channel.
NSFW.
Yeah. So, anyway, cool figure, regardless of
dicks.
Regardless of his dick. Now, these other two figures, so $19, that was a good deal. These ones here were a really good deal. So,
yeah.
I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but in Canada at least, GameStop has their $5 Friday sales. They don't announce it in advance. It's like every Friday they put a dump bin of stuff up front that they sell for $5. And if they don't sell it, they mark it right back up to full price and put it back on the shelf again. Like, I've seen things that were on the $5 bin and then gone back the next week and it's back up to $30. You know, they don't keep it on sale or whatever. It's a weird thing. But I've gotten some pretty good figures for $5. And I've seen a lot of people get other really sweet deals. Those DC Multiverse figures, for example, they put a lot of them up for $5. You know, these are figures that are usually like $30. So these Masterverse figures, Too Bad is deluxe. That's why he was like $50. But the standard Masterverse figure is like $30. I went into GameStop this past Friday and they had 3 figures on for $5. They had Stinkor, which I already have, so I left him behind. But they had Andra. So this is a figure I wanted when it came out last year because she's a brand new character. She was created for that Netflix one. The Netflix series that a lot of fans had a problem with because, I don't know.
He-Man died.
Yeah, spoiler alert, like, He-Man died, he comes back. But most of the show starred Teela kind of as the lead, and Teela was hanging out with this chick, Andra, who some people were saying, like, are they lesbian lovers or whatever, because Teela had her hair shaved, so I guess that red is lesbian. Anyway, people are just weird online. But, so some people, there was a lot of hate for this character. But for me, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with her. Like, she's not particularly exciting. Like, she's not a robot or a monster or something. The kind of stuff that I tend to gravitate towards. But she's totally fine, and I don't think we have, well, I was going to say there's no black females, but Netosa. We have Netosa. But anyway, a welcome addition. And because she was a brand new character created for the Netflix show, she never appeared in the Classics line. She was not in the Vintage toy line, so she hasn't been in the Origins toy line. Maybe they'll put her in there anyway, but this is the only figure of her that ever existed. And I like to think that I will take my few Masterverse figures and integrate them into my display with my Classics. So yeah, I wanted to add this new character, but she wasn't worth $35 to me. Anyway, so I got her for $5. It was actually, because I'm a gold member there, I'm an Onyx member, I think I actually got her for like $4.25 or something. So, pretty good.
Oh, they give you your discount on top of that?
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it's like 20% off. So maybe like $4 plus tax I got her for. But yeah, any thoughts?
I only watched like 2 episodes of this.
Now for accessories, she does have a cool helmet, like a full helmeted head, which makes her look kind of like Boba Fett-like or something. She has some alternate hands and stuff too, but
does that hood actually go over her head?
I don't know. I was kind of messing around with it, but it's weird.
I wouldn't want to like unravel that.
Yeah, the hood is definitely strange.
It's cool though.
Yeah. And like, it's a nice looking figure.
Yeah, it's like $4, whatever.
Yep. Why not? So yeah, I was happy to finally get her. And similarly, for $5 or $4, I got Fisto. So this guy is a classic character. He's from the Vintage toy line. You know, he's a fan favorite. Now this is a character I would have really wanted a couple of years ago, because this was a guy that was included in the Classics line, but I missed him. I only have a few holes in my Classics collection, because the way it worked with the Classics toys is they went on sale on the 15th of every month. You had to buy them online, and some of them sold out instantly. So like, if you weren't there right away, And it was always like in the middle of the day. I was at work. I would have to like log on my lunch break. But if I was in a meeting that ran late or something, I couldn't get to my computer, I would miss the toy. Plus, some months it seemed like they just made limited numbers for some reason. So Fisto was one of those characters where I missed out on him and I didn't have him in my classics collection, and it pissed me off, and I would have loved to get this figure to kind of replace him. Now, the need is lessened because Super 7 released a Filmation cartoon version of him that I got, and he's in the 7-inch scale, so he fits into my collection pretty good. So that's why I didn't buy this guy when he first came out last year. But again, for $5,
why not?
Why not? And it is nice to have a Fisto in my 7-inch collection that he doesn't look so cartoony. Like, so he actually fits in with my classics line, perhaps better than the Filmation one does. But he looks good. Big metal fist, big purple sword. And, yeah.
I wouldn't want to fuck with him.
You would not want to fuck with the guy with the big metal fist and the big purple sword. Although I feel like I wish the fist was vac metal. I know vac metal is kind of taboo these days. Not too many toys have it, but I'm pretty sure the vintage one was vac metal. Although I might be misremembering that. I don't know. Plus, I feel like the fist isn't that big. Like it was... Do I have a wrong version of it here? Like, at least on the 2002 version, Fisto had like a really big, like comically oversized fist. And the vintage toy, not so much, but I feel this could have been a little bit bigger to kind of bring the point home a little bit that he's got a big giant metal fist. Yeah, I feel like if I lost you completely, you're like asleep at the wheel.
No, I'm good. I'm just
bringing
it all in.
Any thoughts on Fisto before we wrap things up?
He's from the Revelations?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go watch that.
You should.
Maybe when I'm done school and have more time.
Yeah.
September 24th. Okay. Yeah, no, I like him. Worth $5.
Yeah, I think those are... He might have had an extra set of hands.
It's weird that his feet swivel all the way around, though.
Yeah, he's almost a little too articulate. Like, his joints are a little loose. I did find that even as I was taking him out of his plastic shell, his legs were spinning all around. That it makes me think like he's probably going to be kind of topsy-turvy when I put him on my shelf.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want my figures to be too tight that you're scared to break them when you bend them, but I don't want them to be just spinning all wild. So, yeah, he's a little...
You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loosey-goosey.
Exactly. This episode is it's going downhill fast. Alright, so I guess that's it. I have other toys I could talk about, but we've already shot 3 episodes tonight, so maybe we just put a pin in it for now. And, Fisto. Now here is a closer look at my Masterverse figures. So you can see I've got 2 Bad here, front and center. He is a nice big bulky figure, which kind of helps justify his original price point, which was close to $50. That was too rich for me, but like I said, I got all these figures for a pretty sweet deal. And for $20, I think Too Bad is absolutely worth it. He's a big figure, he's a lot of fun, lots of articulation, lots of accessories. Very cool. So maybe we'll start off with taking a closer look at him. So yeah, I really like these two characters and how different they are. So you get the one guy that's all scaly, the other guy that looks more like, I don't know, with his earring and everything, kind of like a pirate monster. So I imagine this guy's probably the brains of the operation and this guy's just the brawn. I can't really remember how they were portrayed in the cartoons, but that's kind of how I see them. Now the armor is really soft and it is removable. Like it's got those little straps. You can see the strap here is undone, and I tried to wrestle with it to get that strap back in place, but I couldn't manage it. Thankfully it kind of looks closed. I don't really, it doesn't look bad when I display them on my shelf, but it was pretty tight trying to wrestle to get this closed again. The shoulder pad here is a separate piece. It's kind of weird. I kind of wish that sat on his shoulder a little better. Like if you lift his arm up, maybe it works. But when you put his arm side by side, it just kind of flops around. I guess you have to sit it in just the right spot for it to kind of make sense. But I'm really not a fan of these arm bands that a lot of figures have nowadays. There's Marvel Legends that have them. There's G.I. Joe Classified. when it comes to something like this, maybe just make it part of the sculpt if possible, because I really don't like them sliding around like that. He's got this cool logo on his belt with the double dragons, 2 different colors. He's got this purple mace. He's got this big axe, which has got a double-headed dragon motif again. He's also got this laser pistol, which can be holstered there. And he's got this other kind of bludgeoning weapon, which can be stored on his backpack. And it's got this cool little thing on the back where it looks like kind of a creature is holding this thing in its teeth. And you could put the other weapon in there if you wanted, but yeah, so you can change those out. And then he's got a shield. It's got that dragon motif kind of subtly on there again. But yeah, just very cool. He also came with a couple of extra hands. I've got him both with the gripping hands on either side, but he came with 2, I think, closed fists for either side as well. So yeah, very cool. Now, I was talking before when Chad was here about how I have the classics version of Too Bad. He would be the best one to compare this guy to as far as size and articulation and all that sort of stuff. But he's already packed away, so I can't get to him easily. But I do have, as I showed you earlier, the vintage Too Bad. So he's got that same design, kind of this guy with the, buck teeth and the fins on his head. Then you got this kind of more monstery looking guy. He's got that silly action feature where he swings his arms and punches himself in the head. Yeah, not as, it was a much more simple design back then. And, the torso looked a lot more awkward with those arms sitting up on their shoulders like that. They've definitely improved this character with every iteration. Now, another one that I do have handy is my one from the 2002 series. And this guy is kind of neat because they released this guy in 2 different ways. They released him in this style, but then they also released him in kind of a flip-flop style. So this, of my 4 different Too Bads, this is the only one that has the guy with the fins is purple and the scaly monster guy is blue. So that's pretty interesting. And I like here how they chose, he's got 2 different types of loincloths and 2 different colors. So this guy was cool. So these were great figures back in 2002, except the articulation was pretty limited. You see they don't have knees, they don't have elbows. So even though the sculpting was on point, they were obviously much smaller, and they just lacked an articulation. So yeah, this Too Bad here is really nice compared to most of the previous ones that I have in my collection. Anyway, on to, let's say, Fisto here. So Fisto's got a nice head sculpt with lots of personality in there. He looks pissed off. Yet he looks kind of like a, not so much barbarian, but kind of like a hipster that would go to a microbrewery or something. He's got that, just enough of a, a twirl in his mustache, and his hair is kind of mussed up, but it looks like intentionally mussed up, like he spent a lot of time in there with his, hair paste or whatever. But he looks good. And he looks like Fisto. He's very classic. Metal fist, purple sword, purple armor. Like, there's really not much more to say. What do you need? The armor is removable. I am not going to attempt to remove it because I'm always scared that I won't be able to get the straps back through and it won't fit on properly. Now, what we were talking about earlier is the looseness of his feet. Like, so this joint on his ankle is okay. But it's here, the boot cut. These things just swivel around really easy. And so when you're handling them, it's very easy to find him with his feet on, like backwards or something. It just looks kind of goofy. I wish that joint was a little firmer so they didn't spin around so much. But he does stand up pretty good, and yeah, he looks good. And now lastly, Andra. I guess I should mention with Fisto, he came with some extra hands, I think. So he's got a slapping kind of hand and a fist hand, and that's for his non-glove side. Yeah, so Andra, her accessories are, she's got this little laser blast effect which plugs into her wrist there, so that is removable. She also has 4 extra hands here. So she's got open hands, gripping hands. I think I've got her displayed with 2 fists right now, which is all she really needs because she doesn't have any weapons to grip. And then she's got the this kind of cool, I don't know, bug-like helmet. I think it's actually designed to look like the vehicle, the ground ripper or the road ripper. I can't remember what it's called. I think they've changed its name from the vintage line to the modern line. But anyway, that's kind of cool that it carries through a motif from a vintage Masters of the Universe vehicle. But yeah, as cool as that helmet is, I think I will display her without it because she's got a nice looking face. And it's just kind of nice to have, like a woman of color on the shelf. There's not a whole lot of them in the Masters of the Universe. With the current Origins line, they've done a good job of integrating some minority characters because they've added the Sunman subline. But as far as the Masterverse goes and classics and the vintage line, there wasn't a whole lot of minorities. So it's kind of nice to add her in here. And she was a cool character. I liked her from the show. So yeah, lots of nice sculpting. Cool design. I like the way her hair is sculpted and everything. And I like that she has a soft goods cape, but it is very weird. I don't know what to really make of this. It looks like it should be a hood, but it doesn't really work. And I was kind of scared to mess with it too much because I don't know if the way it came in the package was kind of intentional and it's supposed to just be kind of a mess of flaps and rolls. Again, it kind of looks like how some hipsters wear their scarves out to the coffee shop and they just have like a huge scarf all bundled up around their neck. And I thought maybe that's the look they're going for. And if I start unfolding the seams, I might never get it back to the way it was intended. Although I could be totally wrong. Maybe this is supposed to be a pretty standard looking hood and it got flipped inside out somewhere in the packaging. And, I should reverse it, but I'm not going to. So anyway, there's Andra and Fisto and Too Bad. So all of them are pretty cool. Anything else?
Not from me.
Okay. Well then, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below. And come back for our next episode, which will be up sometime soon. Pretty much weekly with these things, if not more so.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a lot more free time coming up.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
In September. So.
All right. Well, we've got some new GI Joes coming to us in the mail that we're gonna have to talk about soon. So yeah, come back soon.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Ciao.
Ciao.